my career has shifted shifted for the better the second I stopped trying to sell directly to people and I focused on developing relationships with multiple.
Welcome to Rise and Shine, your business tech boost with me, Charly Leetham. I have been in technology for over 40 years and I've been running Ask Charly Leetham for nearly 2 decades. I know it sounds like such a long time. People hire me so they can do what they do best, run their business, while I handle the tech that keeps everything else running. This podcast gives you practical advice you can actually use, straight talk about what works and what doesn't. And today I have a guest, Alex Standiford, and I didn't check how to pronounce his last name, so I hope I got that right. He's the founder of Siren, a WordPress affiliate and partner program, and I'm going to ask him to tell us a little bit more about himself in just a moment. Hey, Alex, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks. You got the name right, by the way.
Oh, good.
I was thinking beforehand. I was like, "Oh crap, she didn't ask. I wonder if that's going to come up." But you nailed it. It's all good. So yeah, my name's Alex. I've been in the WordPress space for the better part of a decade. Mostly working in developing, extending, and working on e-commerce things. As you said, I ended up creating a product called Siren more recently, and that was mostly just around the fact that as I've been running my own agency, as I've been running my own freelance, I realized that there wasn't really a good way to track and keep track of payouts for different partnerships and things like that I was trying to form. We'll get into this a little bit later, but I'm a big proponent of the idea of finding and selling to multipliers instead of selling to customers directly to help grow my business. And I needed a way to be able to keep track of who I owed what commissions and all of these other things. So that's, kind of how I ended up here. And fast forward, now I'm on your podcast talking about products and Siren and, how I've used it to grow my business and all these other things.
I'm just sitting here thinking this is sort of the typical path that a WordPress developer kind of ends up on is they drop into the ecosystem to do something, to help someone else to do something. And then they find a need and they build a product and now they're selling that product. And here we are. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's actually part of it's part of the magic of the open source environment to start with. I'm not just going to say WordPress. It's the magic of the open source environment. It's also the magic of how this industry has just evolved over time. I don't think we've seen it in many other industries, not like we see it for ourselves today. But you were talking about partnerships and tracking partnerships. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be going, "Oh, you're not going to be talking about affiliate management, are you? We don't want to do affiliate management." Let's talk about what we're meaning, what we want to talk about partnerships, because I think it's really important for small business owners to understand how that can work for their businesses and what the benefit is to them. You were talking about multipliers. Let's start there.
Yeah, sure. So I think the big thing that a lot of people, whenever they hear affiliate programs or they hear affiliates or anything like that, they think about the affiliate that is closer to what I would call a day trader than an actual contact. Do you know what I mean? They're looking at the numbers, they're figuring out if they can, run an ad campaign and turn some kind of profit on it. To your detriment, potentially. Who knows where they're going to advertise you and all this stuff. That is not at all what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, like you said, partners or multipliers. And what I mean by that word is, I guess in my own business, what I realized was I was trying to connect with all these businesses directly in my local economy. Actually, I was going to my local business chapters and I was trying to connect with people to try to sell directly to them. And what I was finding was I wasn't really getting a whole lot of opportunities directly. But what ended up happening was I ended up finding a few people who were kind of like nodes. They didn't do what I do directly, but they served the same people that I wanted to serve. So like a CPA, for example, or or like an accountant. I mean, I guess that's also a CPA, but like an accountant or the local banker or or even a technologist who focuses on hosting instead of building the websites, right? All these different these different types of people. Another one is a marketing company that doesn't do the technical stuff. I mostly do technical. So all these people, and I realized that whenever I stopped focusing so hard on trying to directly outreach to customers cold, and instead focused my effort on creating and developing really good relationships with multipliers, they referred and brought business to me. And that's kind of the foundation and the basis for what the impetus of how Siren came to be, because that idea isn't new, right? The idea of finding referrals and figuring out how to get referrals. But I think the idea of looking at that as your primary sales process as opposed to selling to customers directly is a little bit novel. But I think the thing is that I've systemized it with my product, where I'm able to actually connect with, I'm able to more quickly connect with partners who I otherwise may not have otherwise been able to connect with, and give them a reason to promote me outside of just they happen to know me.
Yep. So I want to sort of touch on a couple of things there, because when people hear affiliate marketing, that well, maybe that's just my experience, but because I've been doing this a very long time. But that was the case of, oh, go find a product, go and promote it, sign up, go and promote it. We will give you a small percentage of that sale for every sale you make for us. You don't actually have the relationship with the client directly, like with the person who's buying the product directly. It's become it had become very fly by night in some cases. I had seen a lot of product go out going, oh, we'll just send this out to our network and our network will promote it for us. And some of the product going out was pretty bad. It was pretty awful stuff. And that then starts to impact your own integrity. It starts to your reputation, because you're promoting this thing, it's not working. Well, then why would they come and deal with you? So let's just sort of put a pin in that and say that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you as a business owner finding a way to increase your sales funnel, your what did you call it, your reach out into the marketplace. And it maybe affiliate marketing works for you. Maybe the term affiliate works for you. There are people that are going to be affiliated with you who are selling your product or selling your services or recommending your product or services. They're not necessarily even selling them. You're just getting that referral from them, and you want to give them some form of thanks for that. So we can talk about partnerships, or we can talk about affiliates. In this case, I think you're going to find we're going to use those terms interchangeably.
Pretty much,
okay. Okay, so what is it I like how you sort of said, CPAs, bankers, bookkeepers, lawyers. So someone who can come in, and it's not necessarily just that they know you, it's that they know you do this and they think you can do a good job for their clients. So they're going to recommend you to their clients so that their clients can be successful as well. Now, being able to pay them something or being able to give them some incentive to do that works. Is that what you're saying?
I think so, but the thing is those examples that I gave were actually what the impetus was that led me to finding the relationships that I actually do pay. So those are just a traditional referral network. But what I've expanded into since then has been, for example, has been a little more formalized with other companies. So I'll give you one example. I have a niche website that focuses specifically on building websites for campground owners, because I spent a few years traveling in a camper and I'm really into that. So, so I built this site and I went to a few conferences and I connected with a lot of the businesses at those conferences. And so I went to these conferences not looking for the campground owners that were there, and there were plenty. I went there to go to the booths, to talk to all the people at those booths, because I was trying to form relationships with them. I was selling to them. I was pitching to them, hey, I've got this service. This is a solution that you could potentially sell to your customers. It could potentially be an upsell to them. It could be, you could white label this. There's all these different ways you can leverage this service that I've created. I've priced it in a way that, and I've created this incentive program that will allow you to be able to, get a cut from it. And it worked pretty well. I was able to find, 3 or 4 different companies that were well known in that space. I was able to basically borrow their microphones and use that leverage to build out my reach. So, they would have me on their various podcasts. They would have me on in email campaigns, work with me on email campaigns where I would do cross promotions of my service with them. Things along those lines. I actually just did this with Siren the other day with Lifter LMS, specifically that learning tool on WordPress. I worked with Chris and their team, and we did a cross promotion where we talked about how Siren can be used in the context of Lifter for course creators. And he and I did a couple of things along those lines, and he promoted it, and I gave him a special discount for his audience. And of course, he earned a commission in the process. And in all of these cases, it leads to really great relationships with people that you can reuse again and again and again. And they're motivated to do it because they get something out of it. Their customers are getting value out of it. And of course, you get something out of it too.
Awesome. Okay. Now that makes a lot more sense. So if I was a small business, well, I am a small business, and we'll come back to living in the camper because I'm a digital nomad. I actually live in a camper and I move
Really?
around.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, that's a whole tangent. That could be a whole hour.
Right. So as a small business, how would I go about finding a partner? What would you recommend? I mean, is this a way you want to run this? Like, how does that work for someone that looks like me as a small business?
Yep, that's the trickiest part. That's the part that everybody has to figure out, and it's where most people struggle. So, a few things have to happen. First off, you have to actually have a product that you can sell that's productized enough that it can be sold without you needing to necessarily have to do it as a custom bespoke service, right? So, for example, with my campground service that I created, it's technically just a pre-configured quote for my agency, right? So I just kind of said, okay, these numbers make sense. I can make these numbers make sense based on my market research. I think that this is a price that somebody would be able to pay at the scale that I'm thinking of going on with this. I can make this work, right? So and then I, of course, set very clear boundaries on what this type of customer can have as a result, because otherwise I would end up, doing tens of thousands of dollars worth of work for them without realizing it. And it's such a slippery slope.
Yep. Yep.
So the first thing you have to do is you have to have something to sell. And the reason why you need that is because your partners have to be confident that they can sell it. And if they have to put you through a lengthy sales conversation and all these other things to be able to make that conversion happen, they're never going to promote for you. And this is true for affiliates or partners or anything. If outside of just, like a simple referral where there's no money being transacted or no tracking or any of that stuff, sure, it's simple. The process of the referral is I send you an email, we're done. But in the context of an actual partnership where you're trying to get a company to send an email to their, 25,000 people on their email list promoting you, you have to be able to make sure that you can prove that your product converts, prove that your product is actually solving their problem and taking care of them. And then, before anything, you have to start there. And once you've done those things, you can then start to think about where those customers are. And when it comes to finding them, there's a number of different strategies, and I can get into that next if you want, but I'm going to stop before I go, because I feel like I'm getting in. I'll take up all the air in the room. You might have some follow-up questions.
Like I said, I don't mind. These conversations tend to run where they run because we each end up with our own little, oh, that's interesting, let's do that. Okay, so I there's a couple of things there that I really liked, and that is, first of all, understand what you're selling. Understand how you can sell what you're selling at little cost. And I'm not meaning like the price of your product. I'm meaning the process behind selling that product. It's got to be systemized. And yours was a pre-configured quote.
Yep.
It's X number of dollars per person, basically, is what I'm hearing out of that. It might be something similar. It might be different, but it's similar to that. It's X number of dollars per Y. And they come to you and they say, I want this, and you say that's this tier here. Here's the price. Send it out, and you just do that. We use the term cookie cutter. It's not a great term. I don't like it, but it is cookie cutter. It is,
pretty much
something that is easily repeatable. Very, very important if you want to bring on people who are selling your product or service.
Yeah,
We're not talking
totally.
about referrals. We're talking about products and service sales.
Right, exactly. And in my context, it was the quote was pre-configured, but it's on a WooCommerce based website that literally there's a checkout process and you pay an upfront fee and then it adds a subscription on top of it. And then as soon as that's done, they get to schedule a one-on-one with me. I have a quick conversation with them. I get to know them a little bit and I basically handle building their website from there. Right. Because in my case, it was a website build, but it was very much a cookie cutter template. Right. So, but you know, the interesting thing is with that, it's not like the whole thing. We're not talking, you don't have to be at a scale where it's like they buy the product and it automatically, you're not trying to recreate Wix in my context. You know, I was just trying to get to the checkout. Everything else that happens afterward can be manual or semi-automatic. Of course, it's going to be streamlined because it has to be, but you don't have to scale this infinitely. You just have to have it enough that you can prove that it converts and track the sale. And the sale has to happen automatically enough that you know, it can happen at a scale where 25,000 people are sent to your website and you get, you know, a couple dozen new customers from that or something along those lines. But once that's set up and once you have all that figured out and all that stuff put together, the next step is to actually find those partners. And I kind of alluded to this earlier because with my strategy, it's whenever I'm going in verticals, I'll look for conferences in those verticals. And then I will bring my business cards and I will talk to all the people at all the tables. It's great because then you end up getting to, you know, go hang out with them at their fun retreats and all the stuff that they end up doing. So there's some fun side effects there. But in addition to that, you also, of course, create these partnerships and you create these relationships. And inevitably, those lead to you being able to get sales. And what's interesting is I found that whenever I did that, what it did was it allowed me to, it shifted my sales process. Like I said, obviously it shifted it over to where I'm focused on finding multipliers, like what I've talked about here. But my idea of selling to customers is actually selling to the ones who I've already sold to. I'm upselling them. You know what I mean? So my leads are technically already customers who just came in at the entry level price or whatever it is. And inevitably they need some kind of upsell or some kind of opportunity. And I'm curating that list of people who are already paying me while simultaneously, you know, finding opportunities to upsell them or serve them in new and better ways.
Okay, can you just sort of dig into that one a little? Because you lost me a little, and that's probably just the way my brain works.
Okay.
You're already selling to them. So you said you go to booths and they buy from you and then you're reselling them on other things. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. What I mean is whenever I go to a conference, I'm looking for the vendors that are there that are serving the industry, right? So, and then I'm talking to them and I'm saying, hey, I have this product. I looked at your product. I think we're related in some different ways. I think I can help your product. I might even be able to integrate with your product or, you know, help your customers in some way. I look for opportunities where there's those kinds of things, right? So, for example, in the campground industry, there was a company that has an app for their camp. They make a campground management app for campgrounds, for events and stuff like that. And I talked to them a little bit, and I realized there was an opportunity for me to create an integration with their app, with their website. So we had a conversation about that. We built something along those lines. We connected on that. And then we published it on their website. We talked about it through there. Another example, like I said, was with Lifter LMS and Siren, which is a jump to my product itself, but it was around the idea of creating an integration with Lifter LMS. And we talked about how you could create like a Udemy clone, like a course creator clone for like multiple course creators and all this kind of stuff. So I go to these conferences. I look for opportunities like that. I have conversations with those people about potential ways we can work together and partner up. And a lot of people aren't interested, but usually I find a few. So that's one way to do it. Another way is via SEO research. Actually, you can do keyword research and find keywords that you wish you would rank for, and usually you'll be able to find some people who are talking about things that are relevant to what you want to be ranking for. And that's usually that's how I find a lot of my podcasts. That's how I find a lot of my bloggers who I want to work with. That's at a different scale, of course. That's not at the scale of a big email list. In most cases, usually that's you're getting added to a list. You're getting a link, or maybe you're getting to do a cross promotion at some point. But you get your foot in the door. You get to know them. You develop a relationship, and over time, sometimes that becomes something more where they they let you in in more tighter places.
Okay, so let me just sort of run through that one a little bit more. I'm going to put some practicality on it. I don't know why, but swimwear comes to mind. I don't know why. It's winter. I don't know why swimwear is coming to mind, but a swimwear provider here in Australia they could go to resorts, they could go to pools, the swimming centres, the recreational centres, and say, hey, why don't you promote my product? I'll give you this and you'll get X number of dollars or X% back on the sale. You don't even have to buy it. You just send them to me. I can send you samples to put up, send people to my link. They can buy online. Is that the sort of thing you're talking about there?
Yeah, exactly. That's a solid example. If you have in the physical, I guess in the physical context, for sure, that's a great example. I think about even um, there's a kite. I fly kites a lot, so I 3D printed this really fun kite camera mount, and I had this. I never did it, but I had this image in my head of building it or selling it, and I was thinking of something along those lines. Right? There's a couple of kite stores in the Outer Banks that comes to mind in North Carolina, and some other places that I'm like, man, I could totally partner up with those people and probably promote this or sell this in some way if
Yeah.
if I had the will and I was that serious about that product, then I would, then there's definitely potential there.
I guess then, sorry, I'm just sort of running it through. I mean, we all hear podcasters. The podcast industry tends to run on we're going to promote someone's product on our thing and get some kickback for it, get some commission for that promotion. And go to this podcast / my name and put in the
Yep.
coupon code blah. If people are wondering where I'm going with this, I'm getting there. If you are a business who's wondering, how can I do that? How do I be able to go to a podcast like Charlie's? No, I'm not saying you should, but a podcast like mine and say, hey, listen, would you do a product read? Would you promote what we're doing here? How do we track that? This is exactly the sort of thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
actually quite huge, because I know we spoke about this just off camera before we started recording. A lot of the affiliate management platforms that are out there are, if not done right, confusing to try and get onto. They have some really high standards you've got to meet to be able to be a vendor on them, and then getting your affiliates and getting your partners onto it to be able to track it is difficult. Like
Yeah.
I've gone through so many. Oh, we're changing our affiliate program. We're moving across to this one now. And it's like, oh, now I've got to go and re-register. And, oh, you want a W8BEN, you want one of these, you want one of those. And
Yeah.
is it really worth it to me to do that anymore? Because, now it's $100 payout. Now it's the commission's lowering because they've got their costs associated with it. This sounds to me like that cuts a lot of that out. Am I right?
Yeah, for sure. So, and a lot of the problems that you're talking about there is because a lot of those sites are using some of the bigger, much older um, commission networks. So, I'm thinking of like Share a Sale and Commission Junction and stuff like that. They
Yep.
and they take a cut of every sale. So if you are an affiliate manager, or if you are managing partnerships in any way, shape, or form through these platforms, you have to pay a cut for them, and you also have to pay a cut for affiliate. Well, guess who ends up losing the cut? I'll tell you right now, it's not the person selling the product. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What I have to do then is I say, okay, well, this platform takes X percent of every sale I do through their platform. So I'm just going to subtract that from how much I'm going to pay in my commission, you know?
Correct. Yep.
So what tools like Siren, what Siren does is it's built specifically on your WordPress site, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it cuts out all of that stuff. You own the program, you own the code, it's yours. So it, we don't take a cut of anything like that, or do any of that stuff. You can pay your affiliates or your collaborator, your partners, uh, you know, whatever you pay them, and that's that. The only thing that will take a cut is depending on what payout processor you use. So if you're using Stripe or something like that, they'll take a percent or
But you have
something,
that
because
anyway.
you've
That's a
got that
cost you have
anyway.
anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that definitely helps with that aspect of it. And also another problem with a lot of these platforms, and this includes a lot of the ones that actually are on WordPress as well, that are independent of, being a bigger market. They all assume that all relationships on the internet are affiliate shaped. That is why whenever we started this conversation, we had to specifically talk about the affiliate marketing of it all, because every single daggone tool on the internet right now
Yep.
assumes that if you're talking about
Yep.
partnerships and relationships online at scale, you're talking about affiliate marketing, and that's the only shape that exists. And Siren's site right now has, I think, at least 60 different programs on it as examples, and only a handful of them are actually affiliate programs.
So what is the difference between then the ones that are affiliate programs and the ones that look different? I mean, the partnership ones, what changes in that relationship?
Yeah, so primarily the biggest piece that changes is the nature of, in my head, it's the nature of the person I'm trying to attract. So even in Siren, I don't even call them affiliates. It calls them collaborators, because
Okay.
it's a generalized term, because it can be anything, right? So in the context of um, a Etsy, if let's say you wanted to make a clone, something similar to Etsy, maybe you're running a 3D printing business and you handle printing 3D printed parts, but you don't know how to do 3D modeling, but you know a whole bunch of people out there who love 3D modeling but don't have 3D printers and would love other people to print and distribute what they're creating, and they'd love to get some money for doing that in the process. So you decide you're going to create a platform that allows people to submit and add, vetted people to add their own 3D printed, or I'm sorry, 3D printer friendly models to your platform. And then those people can buy it through the site. And then, you obviously get the money and you get a commission. You take their fee, and you pay them for basically creating it. That's
Right.
called,
Okay. Fee
you know
for
what I mean?
service. Right.
Yeah,
Fee for
exactly.
service.
And in that context, we call that a royalty program, is usually what I'm calling it.
Yep, that
So it's
works.
more
That
akin to like
works.
books, like think about. Um, but the reason why I bring that up is because that has nothing to do with what an affiliate is, right? You wouldn't look at that person doing that 3D modeling and say that they know what CTR is. They don't know what a customer acquisition cost is. They don't know about the CPM of an ad and how it relates to how much money they're
Yep.
making from their commission. And that's why earlier when I was talking about this, I was like, when I think of affiliates, I think of them as like the day
That's what
traders
you're
of
thinking of.
marketing. You know what I
Yep.
mean? They're looking at the
Yep.
numbers, and that's all they're looking at. And that's okay for some markets. Don't get me wrong, that's fine. But that is just one type of relationship you can have. So for me, it's less about the shape of the program itself and more about the spirit of the connection you're trying to create.
Okay. No, I get that. So for someone like me, I've had a couple of clients come to me and say, "Oh, we want to create this program within our own programs. We need you to do the back end stuff of this. And now I've got one client coming to me saying, well, I've sold that to this client, and now I've got other clients wanting me to do this. How is that going to look for us? And I'm going, oh, I've got to work out how to price my stuff and make it work for this client so that it works for her clients. This would be actually a perfect example of where we could do this, because we could set up that relationship. She sells her thing, it hits something on my end, it sends something out, and oh look, there's the royalty flow, royalty, whatever you want to call it, referral, promotion fee, whatever.
Yeah. And it's funny you talk about that, because I haven't ever actually done this one, so I will add a disclosure there. But I've often thought about the idea of creating a partnership program where a few different people get, like, I have seen this in the context of like a formal business partnership. So what they'll do is they'll use Siren to track how much the 3 or 4, if you've got like 4 partners in a company, literal partners, you could use Siren to keep track of who gets what cut. You know what I mean? So the business, if you know that the business always keeps 10% margin, or 20% margin, and then you know that the other 4 people all get the rest shared evenly amongst them, you can create a program where it splits it, 5 ways.
I like that.
For example.
I like
but
that.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that could work with like a coalition almost. So you could create a coalition between a couple different businesses where they all put their heads together and they say, we're going to create this thing. And it's not any one person's thing, but it is like this blend of all the things that we have to be able to create a comprehensive solution that can compete at a level that we can't otherwise compete at. Right. So like in my context, I think about like software. In software, it would be really hard to beat WooCommerce or Shopify or something like that right now. But if I wanted to try to go head to head with something like that, I would be the partner side of that, right? And there might be another existing platform out there, like I think about like North Commerce or something like that, some other smaller one that's newer but more modern and has a lot of ideas and things like that. And connecting with them and a couple other different products that do other things, maybe email marketing and all the other pieces that you need to make a comprehensive e-commerce tool. And maybe we say, okay, let's all put our heads together. We're going to create some kind of like prepackaged coalition thing that people can buy as a bundle.
Yep.
That is basically all of our products.
Marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can use Siren or something like that to distribute the money, the payouts to everybody, and keep it all kind of above board.
So as soon as you said that, I sort of started thinking about these little shopping precincts that aren't the big malls. They're the little tiny shopping precincts, and they're trying to encourage people to come in there. That's kind of where you could set it up. They've got their own, they all have their own websites. They pretty much all have, click here and you can go and buy from us directly and pick up on site, or we'll get it out to you. That would work perfectly for that kind of environment where they could just pull some marketing money, work off of each other. Or while you're down here, if you're going to come down and do your groceries, why don't you just come down a bit earlier, get your hair done, go to the hairdresser and get your hair done, do your groceries. Now you've got people cross promoting each other really well. This reminds me of when I ran my retail businesses, because I ran a franchise for 4 years. Four franchises concurrently for 4 years. It was rough work. It was rough.
Yeah.
And we would go to like the coffee shop. It was a retail DVD store, and we would go to the local coffee shop and say, hey, listen, here's some cards. Just when people are buying $20 worth of coffee, hand over a card and say, go down and get 5% off of your DVDs. And when they were coming into me and buying $100 worth of DVDs, I was handing out the coffee card saying, go and get yourself a free coffee. And we were cross promoting. It worked really well for us. And that's the same sort of thing, just more formalized and much better, I think.
Well, what I love about what you just proposed there or talked about there is it wasn't strictly monetary. Right. And that's another thing that isn't really talked about either is these partnerships don't have to be monetary. Something I mentioned to you before this call was one of the programs that Siren does can do is you can do a refer a friend program, which is a lot closer to what you just described, or like a customer loyalty program. So, but the refer a friend program really comes to mind for me. So, you could create a thing where if I can refer my customer, like I can refer my friend to this product that I like and I use. And I have a coupon code that they gave me and it gives them 10% off or $10 off or something like that. And when I give them the coupon code, I get $10 of store credit, right? So I haven't transacted any money. I'm not dealing with any tax forms or any of that stuff. I'm just giving them a $10 discount on their next recurring bill. And then the other person got $10 off. It's definitely different than what you were just talking about, but in spirit,
it's the same sort of spirit. It's the same sort of how can we cross promote each other and not fork out the dollars in the long run? It's just we're playing in the margins basically.
Yeah,
and I like it. I like it. And just on that, my own personal experience on that was people really loved it because it was tangible for them. And they could see that we were really happy working with other businesses to do the cross promotion. And they're like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I wish more people would do it. And it worked really well. I mean, we were in a big mall.
That's awesome.
We only ever had 1 or 2 people come to us, but yeah, we could do that. Okay. I'm just trying to think where I want to take this because we've covered an awful lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to add to what we've been discussing at the moment?
Yeah, I think the big thing that comes to mind for me is every time I ever talk about partnerships or growing in this way through multipliers, as I call them, right? People always think that they need hundreds, like people always think in terms of affiliate scales because that's again the world that we've lived in whenever people think of this. You don't need and you shouldn't be trying to attract tons and tons of people.
Yeah.
This is not something that you need to scale. That's the point of it. It's leverage over scaling. So you're not trying to reach out to 25,000 partners. You're trying to reach out to one partner who has 25,000 people who you can reach out to, right? So you're using leverage instead. And I mean, honestly, most of the best partner programs I've found have at most 12 or 15 maybe partners that they're working with. And any affiliate program or any other like more traditional program, even those, I have yet to find one where less than like the top 1% makes up almost all of their sales. It's like they'll have 1,000 affiliates or 1,000 of them or whatever, and 10 of them are what matters.
All right.
So my challenge, So my challenge and my thinking on it is, why have 1,000? Just pick the 10. Go find the 10. That's what you need.
Well, that has 2 flow-on effects. First of all, the term that came to mind when you were describing that is alignment. You're actually going to be aligning with businesses that support your business's core value to begin with, your business's ethos and ethics and core and all of that. And the second one is you're not going to be spending all of your time trying to manage these partners and trying to give them information, and it's a smaller group that you can manage. It's not going to take as much out of your time. You might even you will find, I'll guarantee it, once this works for you, you're spending less time servicing front-end customers, like direct customers, because you're getting so much more through this other channel. You can actually direct a little bit more into that channel to market and give yourself a bit of breathing space. That's how I would read that.
Yeah, totally. And also another benefit related to what you were just talking about in terms of the customer experience is like what I was talking about earlier. You're able to the sales process shifts over into selling the customers who you already have. And so your outside sales almost focuses entirely on finding and maintaining relationships with current partners and running campaigns with them. And then your inside sales is where you're actually doing your direct to customer sales. But what's really great about that is because you know where you got those customers from, you can almost, it's like you're almost automatically getting the avatar built in, right? So every time, whenever I'm talking to, they have an audience, they attract a specific type of person. So because of that, just by virtue of knowing where they came from, you already are way ahead of where you would be from a cold conversation or things like that. You're getting to kind of, the word I used earlier was borrow their microphone, right? So you get to like kind of leverage that, and you're kind of piggybacking off of a lot of the stuff that they've already done there, in terms of creating their audience and things like that, while you develop your own. And it just makes a lot of the sales process a lot easier. They already inherently trust you because they're coming to you from a partner, and you're able to, especially whenever you're going in big batches like that, you're able to kind of tailor the conversations and get yourself warmed up mentally for that kind of talk. So, like I said, whenever I did the most recent promotion with Lifter LMS with Siren, that entire month I did nothing but think about course creators and what they need and what their problems are and how that relates to Siren. So by the time they got to me, I was basically like the expert specifically for that subset of an audience, because that was all I was thinking about at that point, because I had been talking about it so much. And it's just like there's a lot of just really great intangible things that happen just kind of naturally from this flow. And that's a great example of one.
No, I really like that. I was just sort of thinking, if I go back to my swimwear example, if you're selling to a resort, then you would talk in a very different language than to whether you was talking to a fitness blogger and trying to sell your product, get them on as a partner, because they've got different focuses, they've got different things
Right.
they want to achieve, and you can become the quasi expert on your specific part of that niche. I love it.
Yeah.
I really do like it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And in that example, like you're saying, fitness, outerwear, athleisure and all that stuff. The conversation behind that is a completely different conversation than what it would be for, swimwear, like you're saying. Even though they're both still technically athletic oftentimes, right? But they're still the conversations and the use
Very
cases for them
different.
and where they fit, completely
Yep.
different
Very,
conversations.
very different. Yeah.
And the partners would be different too, you know what I mean? Like all of that, it's just a whole different audience and everything.
Okay, so just at the risk of taking us off track a little, do you have anything, or have you had any experiences around choosing partners that just haven't worked out?
Yeah. So and usually you're able to kind of figure that out pretty quick. And this is also why I don't like to try to do this at big giant scales, because most of the time the partners that don't work out happen because you haven't talked to them, to put it bluntly. And what I see a lot of times is people will talk about fraud in affiliate programs where affiliates are just
Oh, yeah.
running ads that are competing with my own ad. So now I'm paying more money for ads so this guy can get a commission off of my product, or my site ended up on a coupon site, and now everybody just goes to that coupon site to get a coupon code right before they go to checkout. That person did nothing to drive traffic to my site, but now I have to give this customer a discount and also pay them a commission because they've abused the system in a lot of ways. So whenever partnerships don't work out, it's usually whenever you are not treating it in the way that I'm describing, right? You're because both of those cases would never happen if I had that relationship that was tight with them, where I'm having a conversation with them and I'm saying, hey, here's my product, here's what I do, here's how I think we can work together. I see you've got this email list. I just noticed this recent episode that you published on your podcast, this blog post that you did here. I've been watching your email list and I noticed, this promotion. I think we could do this specific campaign together, and my product converts with this frequency. Here's the percentage that I offer people in terms of a commission. I don't know what your conversion rate is or anything like that, but I think that this could really be something that could potentially be lucrative for you and also be a really great value to your customers. So and I described it as rolling out the red carpet, where it's like, I'm giving you everything. I'm coming to you with the research, the proof, the commission. I'm giving you everything. All I'm asking for in return is your microphone. That's all I want.
Yeah. I'm actually coming to you with the marketing plan, which is where so much falls apart because people don't know how to market things. So you say to them, here's what I think we can do. We can tailor this, but here's the blueprint. Yeah. Okay. So it is about having those conversations. I would also think there's a bit of discernment there about who you actually approach, and you need to have that little alarm going. No, not that person.
Yeah. The ick will reveal itself before you ever talk to them if you're doing this process. You know what I mean? You'll know, I don't want to work with that person because something will come up as you're working with them in almost every case. Obviously not all the time, but the overwhelming majority of cases, that's going to be what happens.
Yeah. Okay. So trust your gut feel to a large degree as well. Yeah. Okay.
For sure.
All right. Look, Alex, how can people work with you? We've spoken about Siren. What is it you actually do? You said you sell the plugin. Do you do more than that?
Yep. So I do. Obviously, I do. We extend Siren. I do Siren. I offer services related to setting up these programs, consulting on things along those lines. And I also do some, that includes extending and expanding on what WooCommerce or different e-commerce things on WordPress can do to be able to work with these tools and things like that in general. My background historically has been, I do a lot of e-commerce things in general, but like I said, it's becoming increasingly more about the incentive programs and referral partnerships and consulting around these kinds of things over time. But if you have a customer who, or if anybody here is listening who's needing any kind of work with building out these processes or any of the stuff that I've talked about at this call, or they happen to be working at a bigger, like a mid-sized company or something like that, and they're in a department, and oftentimes it's heads of marketing will come to me because they have by proxy become the head of IT, and they need somebody to help them fix and maintain their e-commerce site, and make it maintainable. I do a lot of that stuff, and usually it ends up dovetailing out into Siren or something like that. But like I said, it's increasingly getting more and more people reaching out to me directly about, hey, I listened to this. I thought this was really cool. I have some great ideas to do this for myself. Can we have a call? And sometimes, every once in a while that turns into something. Yeah.
I think that's really important because, as we've discussed, people have these ideas, but they just don't know where to start. They don't even know what questions they need to ask to be able to do it. So having someone that can get on a call, even if it's for 30 minutes, and say, here's the questions you need to ask yourself and get some answers out. That's great. That's fantastic.
Yep.
So how do people get in touch with you?
Yep. So the easiest way to get in touch with me directly is through my website at alexstandiford.com. There's numerous different ways on there. My email address is on there. There's a contact form on there. There's some booking links in some different places. But you can also find me on social media. I'm on X. It's just at Alex Standiford. And then I'm also on LinkedIn. Just search for Alex Standiford. I'm sure that there's probably going to be a link or something somewhere. Yep. So my name, because my name
all in the show notes.
It's got a rogue I in it that everybody always misses. So, but there's plenty of different ways. And then of course, Siren itself there's a free version. So for most people who's looking to get started with pretty much everything we talked about in this call, you can do for free with the plugin.
Awesome. And I will put all of this in the show notes. I'll go and get Alex's LinkedIn link. That's tautology, isn't it? LinkedIn link.
Yeah,
I'm going to get that and put that into the show notes for you guys. All righty. Now, Before I ask you the last question I have to ask you, I just want to say to people, I am here to help as well. That is what I do. I take the stress out of your technology so that you can just go and do what you do best. So if you've got anything that you want to discuss, you're not sure how to start, you've got something really specific and you just want it fixed as well, I offer a free 30-minute breakthrough session. Go to askcharlieleetham.com and click the bright pink button in the top right hand corner. It is bright pink. You shouldn't miss it, trust me. And that'll bring up the form that you can make a booking with me. If you've used your free 30 minutes, because it is only one per person / company, and you still want to work with me, thank you so much. I want to work with you. Get in touch and we will work out what package works best for you and looks best for you and the best way of working together. All righty. Okay, Alex, thank you. Out of everything we've discussed today, because we're kind of getting on our time, what's the one thing you want people to take away from our conversation?
I think I just kind of want to circle it all back to the core thing here, which is, if you're trying to grow your business, if one of the best ways I found to grow my business has been to focus on multipliers instead of customers. So, when you get in the habit of that and you start thinking about selling in that context, even if you're not using Siren, even if you don't need an affiliate program or you don't need a B2B program or any kind of program at all, and you don't even need to track it on your site and you don't need to do any of that stuff. And, you're using something like what you talked about earlier with the trading of the cards, the discount cards, or building your referral network or anything like that. That's not using a program like this. My career has shifted for the better the second I stopped trying to sell directly to people and I focused on developing relationships with multipliers who can point me or who can direct me to my customers. And the sooner you can discover what that looks like and what that means for your business, I think the better off you'll be. One other thing, just real quick before I forget, another just last minute tip. Vendors for your customer is another big one. That was kind of like implicit what I was talking about earlier, but like if you're serving your customer and you have a customer and you're taking care of them, and while you're talking to them, you get connected to one of their other contractors or their other vendors who's taking care of them, that's a potential multiplier for you, right? That's a person who, because you guys have ended up talking to the same customer, they probably have other customers who have your need. And obviously you guys you're able to work together with them. And this is a fantastic opportunity for you to prove yourself, earn your trust with them, and do all those things. That's just one, like a baseline. If you don't know where to go or don't know what to think about, if nothing else, start paying attention to the other vendors that serve your customers and start developing relationships with them and see where that goes.
Fantastic. That is really, really, really good advice. Thank you so much. Look, Alex, thanks so much for coming on. Alex, just so people know, Alex reached out to me on X and said, hey, I think I'd be a good guest. And I think he was right. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. As I said, I will have all this information in the show notes. And guys, if you have anything at all, reach out to Alex or myself. I'm sure we'd love to help you. Well, I would love to help you. I'm sure he'd love to help you too. Yeah. Until next time, just remember I drop a podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mindset Monday, Walkthrough Wednesday, Firewall Friday. I've got some real doozies coming up for Firewall Friday, by the way. There's some great stuff out there to talk about and keeping ourselves safe. But apart from that, I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.